Hello everyone and welcome back to the Bare Threads. So this is another sewing related video. So I thought I would do a kind of roundup of all the clothes that I've sewn for my son. He's now 4 years old. I started sewing for him when he was still a baby, although I didn't do that much sewing then because I was very tired. So it's picked up a bit in more recent times, and I would like to try and do most of his wardrobe, like make most of his wardrobe, but as he gets older that's going to get harder and harder, so I'm really trying to get in there now while he's small enough that it doesn't take up too much fabric and he's not that fussy about what he wears. This is not everything. I've got it all stacked up next to me. This is not everything that I've made for him because a lot of the smaller stuff has been packed away and given to my mum to just to store. It's a bit weird. I don't really know quite what to do with homemade clothes once he grows out of them because I feel quite attached to them. Like they have more sentimental value than perhaps shop bought clothes would do. But also my sewing's not that good, so if you give them away to someone else, there's threads coming loose and stuff, I don't know, it feels a bit weird. I don't think anyone would want to get it even from a charity shop. So I don't know, put that in the comments below what you think that you would do with them. Would you cut them up again and try and use them into something, rework them into something new? I don't know. So most of the stuff from when he was a baby and younger, a baby and a young toddler is not here, but the stuff from the last year or two is. Honestly, there's enough stuff that we don't need anymore, so I'm just going to crack on. So this is probably the pattern that I've used the most, and this is the Waves and Wild Driftwood Dolman sweater or jumper. There's a few different options with the pattern in terms of having balloon sleeves or making it cropped or having a tie at the waist. Haven't really experimented that much, and most of them have all been exactly the same. I've also bought the adult version so that I could make, I think that's what this is actually. I think I'm wearing the adult version of the Driftwood Dolman. I might be wrong, but I think that's what this is. So I can make sort of matching ones. So in no particular order, I've got this brown one, using up some brown fleece back sweatshirting. It's nice fabric, but I just didn't like the colour. It wasn't the same colour as it looked on my monitor when I ordered it. I then used some yellow for the it's just jersey, I think, for the cuffs, and also a little bit at the end of one arm because I didn't have enough of the sweatshirting. Yellow for the neck and the waist. And then also I had to cut the front in 2 panels because I didn't have a big enough piece of the sweatshirting. So I just put this yellow strip down the middle just for fun and to break it up a bit. The back is just plain. He's worn that a fair bit. It's quite warm. This one is a more recent make. It's made out of this, I think, it was very, very cheap fabric, so it must be synthetic. It feels very nice and soft though. It's a lot thinner. It's like a loop back. I don't know what it is really, some kind of knit fabric. It's in camo, obviously. This has already started coming apart at the seams. There's holes in both of the shoulders. There is only a 6mm seam allowance on the pattern, and I think that fabric, it needed more. I don't know. Or I didn't finish this. I never ever finish seams off properly, so that's obviously another issue. This is a really fun bright green number with again some fleece back sweatshirting. Again, it was quite cheap fabric because I was using it to experiment with another project for me, and I just had loads left over. And again, I've used the yellow jersey for the waist and everything. I cut the back wrong somehow, and I ended up with this weird V in the back that I'd cut out, and I had to add a V of fabric. I had plenty. It wasn't I had to patchwork because I was running out. I just cut a weird hole in it. He's worn this a few times as well. It's quite a nice bright one. I realised that I really like him in bright colours, and I just made loads of dark stuff for him, so I was quite pleased with that. This is another example of a more recent one that was made with some leftover stuff from my stash. It's this weird textured kind of jersey. Again, it's quite dark, and I just prefer him in bright, so he's not worn it that much. It's all just oh, it went really dark on the screen. It's not quite as dark as it's showing up. Then this one is kind of fun. This was a small version of one I've made for myself, and this is in a Halloween print, so it's got It's a black background with spiders and spider webs on it, but they're all in like kind of a rainbow kind of print. And I just use the same fabric throughout, and that's a French terry. Yep. And then this also is made with leftovers of one I made for myself, although I didn't actually use the driftwood dolman pattern. I used the I Am, it's either I Am Lion or I Am Zebra? I don't know, one of those sweatshirts from I Am patterns. I made it for myself, I had some left over. It's got really cute little people on it. They look like they're watching some kind of like football match. And then I didn't have enough again, so I used red and yellow jersey for the sleeves and the neck and the waist. Obviously it means that the sleeves aren't as warm as the body because they're only in jersey rather than French terry, but honestly don't think he gets cold. I get freezing cold and he seems absolutely fine. So yeah, I quite like this one because it's quite fun with the like multicoloured arms. Well, not multicoloured, but like yellow and red. So yeah, those are all the Waves and Wild Driftwood Dolman jumpers or sweaters, which are definitely the most used pattern I have, closely followed by the lightning leggings pattern. So these are the most recent ones, again by Waves and Wild. These are the most recent ones where so I used some ribbed jersey that I bought because it was in the sale. It was a remnant, but it was a couple of meters, so I made myself a top. I made the Tillian Buttons Agnes top. I made the Laura leggings from Style Art for myself, and then I also managed to make the lightning leggings for my son. I did have to patchwork it like normal, so there's a seam across there that goes all the way around, and then a seam that goes down the centre. And then I did use some green jersey for the waistband, and then I put some elastic in. The lightning leggings patterns don't say to put elastic in the waistband, but you do have the option of either an unelasticated waistband like these ones, where I've made the slightly shorter version, so can't really see, but like they're there, the same height. And then these ones with the like animal print are shorter, like a 3/4 length I guess, and I used some grey ponte for the waistband and the cuffs, and they slide off them quite a lot. So there is another option, just instead of having a waistband you just turn it, you just sew on some elastic and then like turn it over, but I don't love that approach and I prefer to have a channel where you feed the elastic through. I also think that's better if you want to if you need to replace the elastic, so if you need to cut some off or add a longer piece if it's too tight or too loose. I think it's a lot easier to adjust that than it is when you've sewn the whole elastic in. But obviously if you know the right size elastic, you know your size, it's not so much of a problem. But I just add the elastic into a channel. These are like filthy because he wore them like once and fell over in a muddy puddle and they've never been the same since. These are the full length version. It was me using up an old teal t-shirt of mine. I used some pink for the jersey for the waistband and the cuffs. This waistband looks super weird because I added in the elastic when they kept falling down, and then I have sewn really badly through the middle of the elastic to stop it from wriggling around, and then you can see like the hole that I left where I fed the elastic through. And then I've made the short versions. The shorts, they're quite long shorts really, like knee length, and these were also from that same teal t-shirt, and it has some seam lines from like, that was where a sleeve went, like that's kind of like the arm I think, so that was the original seam on the t-shirt. And I used more of that yellow jersey that apparently I just have used just for cuffs and waistbands. So they've all worked out fine, and he wore them over the summer. And then these are the same fabric that I made the jumper from earlier that has already fallen to pieces, and these ones I did just fold over and sew the elastic in. They're quite long and I don't think he's worn them because they're too long for him, but I'm not expecting that they'll last very long given how easily the jumper kind of all pulled apart. So these are, I think, the double trouble joggers that have like a panel that goes down each side. These are an old version, like a too small for him version, but I'm sure I've made them again, and actually the version that I've made again for him, it is using the same textured, like this interesting textured jersey fabric. I just don't know what it is, and it's really easy to sew with, and I must have bought so much because I've made so many things out of it. I made a dress for me, a jumper for me, and I've made multiple projects for my son. But I don't know what it is, and I couldn't find any more of it. And I've used some black ponte on this one as well, and I've made a nicer version with also some black like corduroy and did the pockets and everything, and it looks really good, and I don't know where they are, so they must be in the wash. That's those. And then quickly, these aren't like full projects really, so these were a pair of Frugy rainbow dungarees that I just have upcycled. So I basically cut the top off, folded it over and added some elastic to make them into trousers. They work, they're not super polished, but they look okay, and it rescued the fun rainbow. I just couldn't quite get rid of them. They were really stained as well, so I don't think I would have been able to give them away, but the bit that had the most stains was the bib part, which is the bit I cut off. And I just love the fact that they're fun and rainbow. Well, they're not a true rainbow obviously, but like they're just really bright, and like I said, I like him in brights. The other two things, this is not sewing, but this is just like project we did together. We did some tie-dye, so they were just t-shirts, little cotton t-shirts that I bought, and then we tie-dyed them, so that's not a real project, but they were just in the pile. Okay, so this one is the parachute top by Oliver and S. That's it, Oliver and S parachute top, and it is a knit top, but it then has a woven collar and little pocket. I got these pieces of fabric from Frugy, and you can get it in like a little mystery bundle, so I didn't know what I was going to get. It's a really expensive way to buy fabric, and you don't get very much, so I really like the fabric. It's nice quality and I like the designs, but I'm not going to do it again. And I just had like little bits left over, and I didn't have enough for a full garment, so I've used one for one sleeve, one for the other, and then I split it up. I made it a bit more complicated for myself because I added a seam in the front and back, because I've done like the different fabrics on the back, so I had to add a centre seam and then the different fabrics on the front. So I made it in more of a patchwork, but I just kind of thought that would look more fun. And then I've got the collar. I don't know if I use interfacing, but this collar is very floppy. I also used red thread for some reason, probably because I didn't have any actual green thread, so I've top stitched a pocket in red as well. It's not my best work, it's a little bit scruffy looking, so he hasn't really worn it very much, and I should put him in it because again it's so fun and bright, but it's just sat in his wardrobe. So this is another Waves and Wild one. This is the Amber singlet, what I would call a tank top, but they are Australian, so they call it singlet. Again, I didn't have enough fabric for the whole thing, so I had to add this yellow piece here, and I just decided to kind of make a feature of it. I think it looks a bit odd, to be honest with you. I should have done the whole, I don't know, I should have made it yellow on both sides or something, but I didn't. Obviously I've added the yellow around the sleeves and the top, and then the back I did in a black ponte because I didn't have enough left of this fabric. This is the same fabric that I made the lightning leggings from that had the animals on, and then there is another t-shirt knocking around somewhere that has the same fabric as well. And this was another mystery bundle from Jelly Fabrics. Love Jelly Fabrics, love their designs, but the mystery bundle was not fabrics I would have picked. I do like these animals, but again I prefer brighter colours, so I just wouldn't have gravitated towards these. But this is quite a cute little singlet. It was never really warm enough for him to wear it, and then you do have the concern about him getting sunburnt, so singlets probably aren't the best choice for him anyway. And then on to a much more autumnal garment. So this is another Waves and Wild though. So much Waves and Wild stuff. This is the Adventurer Raglan. So it's got like raglan sleeves, and then I did the one, there's like 3 different collar options. So there's, I cannot remember the name of them, but you have this one where it has buttons just on like one side, so it's asymmetrical, and then it has this like fold over collar. You have another option where it doesn't have the fold over collar, but it does have the buttons on one side, and then you have another option where it has buttons going down both sides, so it's symmetrical. But if you want to do the fold over collar, you can't do the symmetrical option, you have to do the asymmetrical option. So I got this and made it for my nephew, and then I liked it, so I made it for my son with this autumnal fabric. At one point orange was his favourite colour, and it was really hard to find orange clothes. So I finally sort of cracked that I could buy orange fabric and make him orange clothes, and now he's not that into orange anymore. But it's autumnal, it's orange, it's stripy, and then I used some like the same fabric for the inside of the collar, but that is in a different colourway, and then I also did that for the cuffs as well. And it's a French terry, no it isn't, it's a sweatshirting fabric, and so it's nice and warm and snuggly. So I'm quite pleased with that. That's a more recent make. But the weather here has been like super mild over autumn, so he actually hasn't necessarily needed to wear it. And now he's at school 5 days a week. 5 days a week he basically is just in school uniform from the start to the end of the day. So he doesn't really need, he doesn't really need that much clothing now that I'm like getting on with making it for him. So, right. These ones. So these all, I think, come from the same pattern packet, which is a Simplicity one. So I think it's Simplicity 8660, and it's a cute little T here, which is absolutely fine as a pattern. It's just a simple, straightforward T that I did with some red jersey and some grey jersey. The red jersey was also from one of those mystery boxes, and I don't like the colour red very much, so I wouldn't have bought it, but I made a t-shirt for my son. I made a matching t-shirt for his dad so they can match, very cute. So I've got use out of it. And then the other pieces in the 8660 are dungarees and trousers, and it's such a weird pattern, I think. So these are, these look a bit mad anyway. These are the dungarees that I made that you won't really be able to see properly. But they have, instead of just like a bib attached to trousers, it sort of sweeps down. So it has these really wide, curves for the armholes, and then it turns into legs. They have these huge pockets that go like basically all the way down the leg. And then it's just like a really weird shape. Obviously I've used interesting fabric, so I used a blue chambray that I had left over. I apparently used some bias binding. I didn't realise I'd forgotten it was bias bound. And then I used this like floral fabric. These are woven fabrics that I'd left over. They were absolutely massive for him. I don't think he's ever worn them because I think he was maybe 2 at the time, and I did like size 2 to 3, something like that. Absolutely massive for him. They're probably still too big for him. I'll have to try them with him. But then once you start potty training, dungarees are not the best option. But the shape of them is so odd. And then I've made the trousers version, and the trousers have this really odd shape. So these are the trousers again. I like bright colours. So this was some orange and then like kind of multicoloured fleece that I had left over from another project. Has like a faux drawstring effect, which I kind of got a little bit wrong with my positioning, but it does work absolutely fine. But I made them in like size age 4 or whatever it was, and they were absolutely massive. So I actually chopped loads off the bottom. I don't know, I think they were really high-waisted maybe. I think they were super high-waisted. I think that was the problem. So I had to chop loads off the waist. But they're still like this, I don't know, there's sort of weirdly odd shape to them. I don't know if it really shows up on camera. So he's not worn these either because they were too big for him. So I need to try these on him again because they're nice and snuggly for winter, and they're so fun with the colours. For non-uniform days at school, he's going bright. He has to wear grey trousers the whole rest of the time. He's going with his brightest, most amazing outfit. And then I have these, and I honestly can't remember what pattern they are. I'm wondering, I thought they were the same pattern, but now they don't actually look like the same shape. So this was just some leftover like check fabric. It's woven fabric that I had. I didn't have enough, so they've all been patchworked, which you can maybe see when the lines at the bottom don't line up anymore. It got really complicated and confusing doing that, and then they were too long for him anyway, so I didn't actually need to add all the extra on the bottom. I thought they were the Simplicity 8660, but I might be wrong because they don't look the same shape. So here we go. So this is what I bought that fleece for, the orange, and everything's about to fall on the floor. I just piled everything up on the side of the chair and it just always about to like tip off the edge. Right, this is what I bought the orange and multicoloured fleece for, and this is the Cloth Collective fleece, or maybe it's like the quarter fleece because it has like a fastening that goes like this far down. So that fastens with these like popper things that were not the right choice. They actually got like some really proper metal ones. It was a bit of a pain to get these in. I had to buy so many tools. Again, because my son really loved orange at the time, so he really wanted the orange ones, but they have to go through so many layers of fabric that actually now I think only, so the top one on this side has fallen out, and then I think only the bottom 2 or 3 actually fasten up because, yeah, that's right, because I couldn't get one of the sides of them to actually go through all the fabric and actually work, so I had to just put in like 2 female parts or whatever. It's a bit gross that they call them male and female parts, but anyway. Yeah, I got this pattern from Etsy, and I don't know that I would recommend it. It wasn't the most straightforward. It was super cheap though, so I am aware of that. But there was some bits that were quite confusing. Oh, it has little pockets, I forgot. See, these are quite cute. It has some bits that were quite confusing that I didn't understand why we were doing what we were doing, and then there was just a couple of mistakes. So the amount of elastic it tells, you're supposed to elasticate the sleeves, sorry, the cuffs and the waist, and I just didn't because I didn't understand how or why we were doing that. And it also told me that I should take my waist measurement and then times it by like 0.04. I was gonna end up with like a piece of elastic about this big to put around my waist, or his waist, but it made no sense, and it just was obviously a typo, but it just made it even harder. So I came out with a finished garment that was mostly wearable, and he did wear it. I just don't know that I love the pattern. It was a little bit on the small side for him then, and that was a year ago, so he did not get a lot of wear out of this, which is kind of a shame because I do love the colours. The colourfulness of it speaks to me, and I also really loved the idea of him wearing like a matching set. So much orange. It was my dream, but I don't know that it'll work. My battery's about to die. So I've got a few more things before I move on to his like costume selection. So I've got this top here, which is the Jackie VT. I think it's the Jackie VT from, again, Waves and Wild, although back then they were called Made by Jack's Mum and they switched to Waves and Wild. Much better name in my opinion. So it's just a cute little tee, but it has these kind of overlappy bits that you get with like baby grows usually, because it was a pattern for like, it started from like 6 months or something, so you could actually make it into like the vest with like the bit that goes around their bum and stuff. So there's a few different options, and you could add these little bits on, and don't really need it, but it does make it easier, I guess, to get it on and off because it gives you a bit more of an opening at the top. So it's quite nice to have a pattern like that if you are making for younger kids. And then these were another paper pattern that I bought from one of the big 4 companies. This was New Look something. Got it written down there, hang on. New Look 6398, and I wanted to just get something that I had no patterns for him that were for woven fabrics really, so that's why I bought this set. And it has It has a top, a kind of waistcoat, a jacket, shorts and trousers, and a skirt. The shorts and trousers are basically the same, except the trousers are longer. The skirt is very similar, apart from obviously not having the legs. So these are the shorts, and so they have elastic in the waist, and the legs have gone a bit funny. Elastic in the waist, and then they've got leg holes, and that is made out of I think it's a cotton linen blend, so it's gone super creased, as you can see. Also, as I think I said, I never finish anything off inside properly, so all the seams inside have just frayed. I completely forgot what it was like to work with like a woven fabrics. I'm just so used to working with knits that don't fray that I just didn't finish anything off. So this is the top, which I did with a double gauze in this like bluish colour on the front, and then the rest was that same green colour. And so the idea is that they're like a little matching set, but that they weren't just all that dark green, because I thought that would be a bit much. And because they're woven, you need to have some kind of fastening there, so I've just got one popper thing, and I actually got metal ones this time, so I learnt my lesson. And it's like interfaced around here, obviously needs to be ironed. It's very creased, but also it's just horrendously frayed. I don't know if that's even showing up properly on camera. Will you focus? Oh, I did it and then I moved. I don't know if that really showed you because it was not focused very well, but it's like all the threads are hanging off the bottom as well. Can you see? So that's really frustrating because he wore them like maybe once and looked really cute when he wore them in the summertime, but they're just so frayed now, so I'm kind of kicking myself about that. Lesson learnt, finish off your seams. So then we kind of, oh no, there is another one. So there's this. So this is something that I made for my son, not last Christmas but the one before, I believe. So it's a dressing gown by Little Kiwi Closet Company or something, and it's really cute. I made it from this really cute elephant cuddle fleece that was actually left over. I had loads left over for when I made my niece a dressing gown, which then got passed down to my nephew, and so now he wears it and then my son wears his, and they kind of match even though they're miles and miles apart. And so I have blue for the body, and then the band that goes all the way around the hood and all the way down. The pockets and then the cuffs are the same pattern but in a kind of beige colour. You can't really tell, but they do have elephants on them. And he has got a lot of wear out of it. He didn't at first because he didn't really understand the concept of dressing gowns, I think, when he was like 2. But now he quite likes to wear his dressing gown when he gets cold, when he comes down from, you know, when he first gets up in the morning. I made the tie thing as well out of the beige colourway, and I made it like hilariously too long, like unbelievably too long at first. I think the pattern probably just didn't tell you how long to make it, and I guessed some like absolutely ridiculous amount, and I had to cut loads off. Also, we were really worried about him putting it around his neck, so we just took the band off, and just he never really wears it with the band on. There's no actual loops. I like kind of, yeah, I didn't put any loops in for the tie to go around anyway, so it just fell off and dropped on the floor and stuff. So we just put it in his wardrobe and he just never uses it. But he does wear the dressing gown open all the time and he doesn't seem to be bothered by it. That would really drive me nuts, but he's absolutely fine with that. So the last things that I have to show before my battery dies for the 400th time are all the kind of costumes that I've made for him. So some of them are more sophisticated than others. So starting with pretty simple Halloween, and I just got an orange t-shirt, cut it down to size a bit, and then added a kind of scary pumpkin face on it with felt. The felt now has gone a little bit funny because it's been through the wash a couple of times. He wore it to nursery that year, a couple of years ago, and it was just a really simple costume that he had only just started to walk, so I wanted something that was really easy for him to get around in. So I didn't want it to be like a really complicated, bulky costume, and so that with some trousers or leggings or whatever he wore was like perfect. So the following year he went as a ghost. So I did the same thing with a white t-shirt. I shredded the bottom, and then I added on these like spooky eyes, and that was his ghost costume. And then last March, he, for World Book Day, wanted to go as Gustavo, the shy ghost, which is from a book that he really likes. So I added on the little cute cheeks and the smiley face. Gustavo's eyes are not exactly like that. He's a much more friendly ghost than the eyes, but I didn't want to take them off and put them back on. This looks very like Gustavo, and it was super cute when my son was wearing it. He did spill all of his lunch all down it at the time. I think I washed most of it out, but it was stained for a while. But yes, that was a very cute ghost costume. So on to his bat costume. So I did buy this jumper, so I didn't make the jumper, but I did make the bat wings. So there's one obviously on each side. And I did purple on one side of them and then black on the other. And I machine sewed them together, and then I hand sewed them onto the jumper, and one of them did start to fall off when he was wearing it, so that was a bit annoying. I also made him I bought the headband, and then I made these ears. I think I put cardboard in them because they're quite stiff, and then again I just did purple on that inside and then black. It's a bit hard to see on there with the lighting, but they're purple on one side and black on the other. So we got some good pictures. Anyway, we had Halloween that year in Spain because we were away for a wedding, so we had a few fun backdrops. And then my most recent Halloween costume is his robot costume, my most sophisticated to date. So I used, again, the Waves and Wild Driftwood Dolman sweater pattern to make a jumper. And then I also used the lightning leggings pattern to make the leggings out of this very cheap, very synthetic, stretchy silver fabric. Very rustly as well, made me think of wearing a shell suit. It was really hard for the machine at first until I used my walking foot, so the leggings are not great at the top, but everything else got sewed actually a lot better once I put the walking foot on. I made him a hat to wear to make him look more like a robot. It's actually got, I'm distorting the shape of it when I hold it, so it actually makes your head look kind of flat is the point. And I made him like a kind of piece to wear over his chest like this. It's got elastic bits to put his arms through and to hold it in place, and then it has like fake buttons that he could press. Yep, and then I also did one for his leg, again with elastic on it to just slip over his trousers, and then one for his arm. I did make this one a bit too small. It was quite hard to get on over his jumper, but they have also just got like fake button panels on them just to make it more robot-y. I will say that it did make him look more like a spaceman than a robot, but my first robot attempt, you know. And I wanted it to be something that was wearable rather than just like a bunch of cardboard boxes. That would have been really awkward for him. He wore that at his non-uniform day at school before the end of the last half term, so it was just before Halloween, and he could wear it all day and it was absolutely fine. And somehow, through some miracle, he did not get it super dirty. I was expecting it to be covered in like lunch and tea when I picked him up, but it was actually like pretty clean. He did say that the fabric was rubbish. He really likes the way that it feels, but he found it really cold when he was outside, so it is synthetic fabric. The last bit is this Made for Mermaids bow tie, and I made it out of some blue chambray fabric, and then whatever this gold stuff is that I had left over from another project, the woven fabrics, you make like a rectangle. We made like 2 rectangles, and then you put the rectangle, this bit in the middle, and it like pulls it into this kind of fan shape. And then you also just add this tie, which I've fastened with Velcro, so that obviously will then go around his neck. And I made that for the wedding that we went to. He's also worn it at a school disco. It looks so cute. It looks so cute on him. It was very good to make. That is all the stuff. Oh no, the most flamboyant, ridiculous garment that he has. He is barely worn. One of his friends at nursery had a tutu and he was jealous, so I made him one. And by the time I finished making it, a few days later, he had lost all interest in the project. So he did wear it for a photo shoot for me because he's a good sport, but it has just got kind of screwed up, so it's a little bit of a mess now. But it is a tutu made with some elastic, and then I wrapped that in some tulle netting in the different colours, pink, yellow, and then light and dark blue. It is quite fun, and it's like a fun sort of dancing skirt, but he doesn't really wear it very often. Yeah, that is it. So that's all the things that I have made for my son that I still have here in this house. So it's quite a few bits, and mixed bag on the success rate and the wear rate, but I will persevere. So let me know what you think in the comments, and give us a like and a subscribe to see more.